How old were you? You know, and I feel like I'm interviewing you at a second. How old were you when you left Australia?
17. I feel like you're going to do a lot of interview. I feel like you can't.
Like Triple J.
I feel like you can't not interview.
It's really hard. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You know,
just so you know, if you do that, I'm going to let you do it.
Yeah, it's funny because
I'm like, okay, then ask me stuff. Great.
You know, you laugh because there's a Bennett. It's people always confuse the New Zealand Australia thing. I go,
I'm half and half, so it's okay.
Oh, you are. That's cool.
My mum's a Kiwi. Are you ready? I'm going to sing, so just relax. It's no big deal.
You're a fan of terrific music.
Sorry, Matt. Yeah! Smoking stuff. My balls is totally moving, doing improving. Now that we get back, girl, I've got the heart and desire. My balls are on fire, ready to take us to the top. Smoke machines are like, welcome to the show. Did you know that your mom is a she's probably a... Don't even worry about it. The king of the West. King of the West. King of the West. Tony Hawk's son, can you open that blind, the window? Just jump over Matt Pinfield. Just knock him out of the way. You've got, just use the wide camera angle because that way you'll be fine. Don't worry. Matt, welcome to the show. But I realize I got a lot of smoke in here. And if you just go over Matt Pinfield, or you can go that way. That way you don't have to go over Matt Pinfield. And then I know that it's like these windows were made before you were born, but I know that if you really think about it, try to use some of your parents' knowledge. And there you go. You look, he did it.
Crank it.
Look at him.
Like you've cranked a window before.
There you go. Yep, that's my dogs. They love the show too. Animals love the show. People love the show. Some people hate the show, and they're not listening. So if they're not listening, that's for you.
Sit on that.
Yeah, I hope I didn't get blocked on YouTube. Matt Pinfield, welcome to the show. I just want to say real quick yes, you are right. When you walked in, that is Tony Hawk's son, and he was on the show yesterday, and we asked him some musical trivia, and I know musically and trivially, I shouldn't have said that. You're very talented when it comes to music. You know a lot about all of it.
Yeah, well, I like
this guy.
Styles,
He's 24. He understands. He knows what the Rolling Stones are. He knows they're a band, but he's never heard of a man called Mick Jagger.
Yeah, well, you know, he hangs around with his dad long enough. His dad's put out so many cool compilations, and then all those videos over the years.
Who's that?
Tony Hawk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's put out a bunch of.
Go, Matt. Go,
yes.
Matt.
Great compilations.
Killing YouTube.
You're still on FM.
Love and rock.
And
loving punk stuff, and metal. So there's been just so many cool compilations.
I was just trying to make fun of him to somebody that's so musically, you know so much. I thought maybe you could react in a better way, as in what the hell is wrong with that kid? But that didn't work at all. Don't worry about it. Well, he's giving me an essay.
Well, I have 2 daughters. You know what I mean, and it's one of those things.
Did they know who anybody is in music that was before their time?
They do, just because they had to deal with sitting next to me in the car. You know what I mean? So if I was playing the Beatles and the Stones, and it could have been 100 different bands over the years.
His mother used to sing Rolling Stone songs to him. She told me.
Did she?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. His dad did this great video during the pandemic, punk rock karaoke. Right, the guys. It's like Greg Hedson from Bad Religion, Circle Jerks, and Randy from Pennywise, and Stan Lee from the Dickies, and Darren from Goldfinger. They have that punk rock karaoke thing they travel with. So during the pandemic, since they couldn't do live shows, they did videos with, guys from all different bands, whether it's Milo from the Descendants. And Tony, his dad, did the jams in the city, and he was dressed like Paul Weller, like back in like a mod. And at the end of the song, he pulls back the curtain and then goes down the half pipe, comes back up on the skateboard right before the song ends. So
it's quite annoying to me at this point.
You've been friends with his dad forever.
Yeah, too long, quite frankly. It's getting annoying. But yeah, Tony Hawk and him singing and skateboarding at the same time is just like, when aren't you? He's seriously performing live in a theater near somebody any day now. He does a lot of it. It's getting ridiculous.
I love when he does it, though. It's actually
No, me
cool.
too. I'm his biggest fan.
And
I'm not lying. I
his
swear.
taste is so good.
He's singing the things that he's into. He sang a song with a Devo song with the singer of Devo, and they went like they traded lyrics with each other, and you can just tell he's been into it for as long.
Was it when he did the Whip It video? Was that what it was?
No. This is just the other day. He was on a podcast with. I'm not gonna get
Jerry Casale or Mark Miller's
film videographer guy that made the documentary of Tony's latest documentary, Till the Wheels Fall Off. His name is Sam Jones.
Yeah.
He has a new podcast. He did a live one in a club, and Tony was the guest. And then after it, Tony and the band played, and Tony sang like 4 songs. Three songs, and one of them was a Devo song with the guy from Devo,
which is
and
cool.
he did it in a way where I was like, "Man, you look like you've sung this as much as the guy standing next to you." It's very good.
Yeah, he can. He
getting good at
nail it. Absolutely.
We actually sang a song together the other day for a Liquid Death commercial because Tony and I are both investors in that company, and they asked us to sing. I'm more of a tag along. I just get bonus. They're like, "Tony, do you want to sing?" And they're like, Jason's probably sitting next to him, and he also owns a piece. So let's let him. Hey, Jason, can you just make one noise? You know what I mean? Because Tony gets a verse, and I get a like, yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're like, well, look, there you go. You're
like Cyndi Lauper in We Are the World. Ay, 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 ay.
She put a little something in there, right?
The most flattering, because I thought it was going to be way more disrespectful than that.
No.
Yes, I'm like the Cyndi Lauper of the Liquid
Michael
Death
Jackson got to sing
Yeah.
the hook,
Yeah,
and Lionel
yeah.
Richie got a line, and there's a
Still
couple
in it.
people just banging a tambourine in the
Yeah.
background. But
Still
you
in
know
it.
what? Also legendary.
but making some noise,
That's
one
right.
way or another.
You're in the room.
Let's take a quick pause and talk about AG1.
AG1 is your one-stop shop every morning. Everything your body wants, everything your body craves, everything your body needs. We're talking about 75 vitamins, micronutrients, probiotics. If you need to take it, it's in there. 1 scoop, stir, drink. Tastes pretty good.
I drink it every day, and it's delightful, tasty, and it keeps me very energized. I'm full of beans.
He's full of beans. AG1 beans. Magic beans, you might say.
Yeah, no, they are.
I've taken multivitamins before.
They've got 75 in AG1.
I remember it like it was yesterday. I took a vitamin. I went to the fancy store. You probably know which one I'm talking about. And I bought the fancy ones. I'm like, I'm becoming a man of a certain age. Give me the good stuff. And I took it. And 6 hours later, my urine looked like it could murder Superman.
They'll
and
deliver it. They'll deliver it every month, Michael.
They will, and you're going to want them to. I actually called the company up,
You
and I was
would.
like, what's up with my pee? And he's like, well, it's a very natural byproduct. No, it wasn't. That was the expensive multivitamin leaving my body and going into my toilet.
That's what
Not
they say.
going to happen on AG1's watch.
No, stays in your body.
Your gut biome.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah, if you want to take ownership of your health, try AG1. Get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/JES.
That's drinkag1.com/JES.
Shake it up.
Matt, you've talked to every musician in the world. Who is the most annoying? Because I don't care what anybody thinks. I'll tell you the most annoying rock star I ever talked to, Zach Wilde and Dave Mustaine. Worst interviews that I could... maybe they had a bad day. I'm not saying that they're always bad. I'm just saying that the 2 interviews that I'll never forget where I was just like, I love Megadeth. I
Yeah.
love that he was in Metallica. I love that guy.
Yeah.
And halfway through the interview, Michael knows me. We both know each other extremely well when it comes to not talking to each other about what's annoying us, but we know it's annoying us.
Yeah.
And Michael knows I love Metallica. Like I got a Metallica tattoo. And this interview was just like, man. And I'm like, man.
I think the worst.
You're not even letting me get a word in, and everything you're saying sucks. And
Yeah.
I don't think you know. Like, it was really surprising.
Well, I mean,
Have you been there?
Yeah, well, I've definitely been there. I mean, I've been there where, like, where an artist just is not enthused to be there or to be doing any interviews. And it's usually, it hasn't so much been some rock guys, but it's been when I've had, I remember Avril Lavigne, who's nice enough, but I couldn't get her excited about anything except mentioning her producer. And her fans seemed to like the interview on YouTube, and it was on like Access when it was HDNet. But yeah, it was a tough one because it was like, are you passionate about anything?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're like,
Yeah.
it was that kind of thing. And
Yeah. Go ahead. No, I had a similar instance with her where one of the very few times an artist's representation has said, can Avril see the questions ahead of time? Not to approve, just she's not that great on her feet, which was like, okay.
Go fix the window, Mars.
Didn't write her songs, not that great on her feet. Avril's a good singer, and that's pretty much what Avril's bringing to the table.
Yeah,
Do
exactly.
you see her skate?
What's that?
Have you seen her skate?
No, but I mean, of course, she didn't write. I guess she sang "Skater Boy," her big song.
This is going to go back to Tony Hawk again, but Tony was involved in a TikTok video with her, and I guess it was like her first TikTok, and she wanted Tony to be in it, and she had a mini ramp at her house, and Tony went there to help her skate, and she can't skate, and she tried to drop in, very little mini ramp, but she did this thing where she dropped in, and her foot came off. It's like a thing that a lot of beginners do, and she fell back on it. And usually, 9 times out of 10, when you do this particular fall, your ankle snaps.
Wow.
Like, almost guaranteed. And she did it where she fell, her foot stayed back, and she fell on it and went, ooh, ow. And I saw the video, and I remember, like, I see Tony going, hey, you okay? And she's like, yep, I'm okay. And they use it in some of the TikTok, and I saw Tony the next day, and I go, dude,
Yeah.
did you? He's like, I definitely thought for sure I just witnessed a broken leg.
Yeah.
So she's, and she in that video she seemed very excited.
Yeah.
So maybe that was the problem.
Yeah, and it might have been just, at the end of an album cycle, one of those things where they've been doing so much promotion, rather than, but that was it. It was just she just lacked excitement.
What about that thing where when she takes photos and you're not allowed to touch her, you have to stay away from her? Did you hear that one? That
No,
rumor?
but I've heard those.
Michael, remember that? Was that true or not?
Oh, that was most definitely true. So this was, I think, before the Lyme disease thing, where a lot of behavior was maybe sort of explainable with, she's been sicker than she's been letting on. But she was, when artists were starting to really monetize the VIP pass, the backstage meet and greet, there was a lot of photos of 2 fans very excited to be standing near her and her about 5 feet away.
5 feet away.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it defeats the purpose of the photo itself.
It
But,
almost
if
makes
she
you
was sick,
feel.
It
It almost makes you feel bad about meeting her. When you meet a celebrity and they go, cool, just stay over there for the photo.
Yeah.
It's all of a sudden you're like, wait, what? But you're saying she has Lyme disease and she didn't want to give it to somebody else?
No. I'm just saying that there's been a lot of stories about her over the years. Not so much that that's communicable by touch, but a lot of days where she maybe was low energy.
Yeah.
In retrospect, maybe that had to do with the
I
don't know
that
what
makes
the deal
good
with
sense.
the meet.
You know what I mean?
I don't know what the deal with the meet.
I mean, she wasn't rude in any way. I mean, that was the thing.
Right.
It wasn't that kind of situation. And then I've had some other interviews where I remember one time, and he's apologized to for about 100 times. Evan Dando, Lemonheads, he was tripping. He was doing acid during an interview on MTV. And it went from like talking about like Marvin Gaye's "What's Going On" album to somewhere out in the cosmos. And I was trying to follow him, kind of the conversation.
He left the building a little bit.
He left the building, and literally until like 2 years ago, I saw him here at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery. He was playing at the Masonic Hall, and I went up and he goes, "Dude, I'm really sorry about that interview." I'm like, man, it's like 30 years and 25 years ago. It's all right now, man.
Remember that baseball player that threw a no-hitter on acid? His last name was Ellis, right?
Doc Ellis,
Yeah.
Pittsburgh
I
Pirates.
have no idea where that came from.
Well, I actually I think that's pretty amazing that he was able to actually see the ball without trails and all the other things that go along
I did
with
acid
it.
at a demo once, and I kept skating, and it was like inside, and then the band started playing, so they were like, you guys need to stop skating, and I was on acid, so I was like, no. And then I was skating, and they turned the lights off on the ramp while I was in the air. And because I was on acid, when they turned the lights on, I feel like I could still see where the flat was.
Just went to like Tron vision.
I don't know what happened. But I made it. I did a frontside ollie, and they turned the lights off in the middle of the frontside ollie, and then the people that were around, like the skaters, heard me rolling.
Yeah.
So they're like, wait, did you make that? And then I could just hear people screaming. And I thought it was really cool. And then I went backstage, and everyone's like, man, that was so crazy you did that. And then the person that I look up to the most in skateboarding, Chris Miller, was there, and he had just sponsored me with this new skateboard company, Planet Earth, that had not come out officially yet.
You mean Chris Miller from like Highland Park, New Jersey?
Nah, Chris Miller, one of the greatest skateboarders, if not the greatest
where was he
skater
from?
that ever lived. He was from California.
Oh, he's the California.
Yeah,
that's right.
he's a California
Yeah.
kid. Still surfs, still skates, shreds. His kids shred. Zach Miller, I skate with. They're legend. The blood is impossible.
It's funny. I always thought Chris was from Jersey, just because I'm from Jersey. So whenever I hear somebody's from Jersey,
that's
one of those
that's
things.
the Joe Piscopo thing, right?
Yeah, it's very much that's
I'm from
exactly
Jersey. You
what
from
it
Jersey?
is. Yeah, exactly.
I'm from Jersey,
You see
so-
Jersey plates, and then you get there, and you're so tired of seeing Jersey plates. But you know how that thing goes. You know what I always want to ask you, Jason? So you're half Kiwi.
He's already gone. That's
And
it.
there you go. You knew this was going to happen.
Reverse the interview.
Half
Go ahead.
Australian.
Yeah.
Tell me about. I wanted to know what was your introduction to music over there and rock, and what were you listening to? How old were you when you discovered it?
Wow. I mean, I grew up with a drunk parent, like a metal kind of. I think I had a lot of. What was the first, like AC/DC was like my first kind of music that I was into. I was into Kiss when Kiss came out, when I was real young. But my parents were into, like Janis Joplin. Like I would hear that in the house a lot. A lot of stuff like real, like the first grunge. You know, where it was like very Jimi Hendrix kind of like bell bottom. I mean, my parents had my dad had long hair.
Yeah.
It was that kind of thing. And then when I got into music, it was pretty quick transition. I think it was Kiss. And then within 6 months, I found AC/DC. And then when I came to America, someone introduced me to Metallica. And once Metallica hit, that was it.
Of course, one of the greatest bands of all time. You know, I got a great story about Kiss. How I got to sing with 3 original members. You know, and by the way, when I was talking about Tony Hawk's video of "In the City" by The Jam, you should also check out my version of "Ace of Spades" by Motorhead, because that was my song I did. And you know, if Motorhead fans, if I had done a lame version of it or uninspired, they would have crucified me, because you don't mess with Lemmy or Motorhead, right? They loved it. Official Motorhead put it up on their website.
No way.
And they got like 80,000 views, and a lot of people going, "Hey man, this great version. Let me be really proud."
Did you know Lemmy well?
I knew him from hanging out with him sometimes at the bar, and you know, I wouldn't say I was his best friend, but we definitely got along well. He
Were you
respected
drinking
me.
back then?
What's that?
Were you a drinker?
I was a major drinker, so I was drinking
you
Jack
two
and
got
Cokes with him.
Okay, so you got along, right?
Yeah, we got along really good. I mean, that was the thing. I love Jack and Cokes.
I had a stripper girlfriend when I lived in Hollywood for a while, and she brought him home.
Yeah.
And it had an elevator where you have to like let people in. So I got the buzzer, and I was like, "Hey," and she's like, "Hey, I'm coming up with Lenny from Motor Breath." And I go, "You mean Lemmy from Motorhead?" Yeah, whatever. So I'm like, "What is going on?" And sure enough, they come in, and it is him. And she was a stripper. He was at the strip club. He was coming back, because I think he thought he was going to get some.
Yeah.
And then my dumb head's there, and I'm like, "Holy shit, you're Lemmy, and you got to play my guitar," because I had a Gibson Explorer trying to be like James Hetfield. So then he started playing it and talking about his friendship with Metallica, and I'm like, "No way, like this is the coolest night ever." And he kept staring at my girlfriend's crotch, because she was like kind of crossing her legs. She had little pink panties. I don't blame him. And I wasn't sure how this was going to go down, but then he looked away. He looked like to see if anybody else was in the room, and then pulled a bag out.
Yeah.
He just hawked out of the bag like I didn't see it or something. I was like, "I'm right here.
Yeah.
Like, I saw what you did." And then we talked about drugs for a little bit, and then I think it was like, I'm not. Whatever you think is going to happen, it's not. I was not that advanced. Like I love you, but you're not fucking my girlfriend.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Lenny, it's been a great night. But
Yeah.
You know,
Good luck with Motor
Lemmy
Breath.
from Motor Breath. No, you know, Lemmy, it's really funny. Ozzy Osbourne said to me once, we were doing an interview, and we were walking up the street, and we just started talking about Lemmy, and he goes, if Lemmy ever stopped drinking Jack and Cokes or doing crystal meth, he'd probably fall apart. He
Yeah.
just basically said it was a glue that kept him together.
Yeah,
Ozzy
it seemed like that.
yeah.
You know, but so the Kiss story you'll love, because back when I was at MTV in the music department, Alex Coletti, who produced all the MTV Unplugs, came up to me in my office, and he goes, "Dude, what's wrong with the music department you're part of?" He goes, "They don't think Kiss is worthy of an Unplugged." I go, "What?" I go, "Let's go talk to him right now." So we literally went into my boss's offices, and one of them said, I said, "Hey, I hear you guys aren't interested in doing a Kiss Unplugged." And he said, "Well, does anybody care?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, they care. Every record goes gold without any promotion at all." At that period of time, it was the 90s. Every record would come out and drop 500,000 copies easy. And I just tried to put that in numbers and said, like, "Well, that would be great first night, first rating for that Unplugged." So they came around to liking the idea, and then it happened. And, of course, it also caused a reunion with Peter, Ace, Gene, and Paul, which was great. And so they took me and Alex Coletti, who produced...
That's your fault, huh?
Yes. So he, it's definitely, I'm definitely part of it. And so we had dinner with Gene and Paul, wanted to take out to dinner me and Alex Coletti to say thank you. And then about a year later, after they did a reunion tour and everything, I got a call from Gene Simmons saying, hey, I want you to narrate our documentary for Second Coming about our comeback, and which I ended up doing. But to make a long story short, I ended up going to KISS headquarters while I'm in L.A. At this point, I'm still living on the East Coast, like Jersey, New York, and they needed me to fix a couple lines on the dock. So I do it at KISS headquarters. And then Tommy.
What does fix a couple of lines on the dock mean?
Yeah, not those lines.
No, like you did the voiceover, but you got to change a couple things.
Okay,
a couple of pickups.
Yes, it was
I'm back. Sorry.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So anyway, we, Tommy Thayer, who plays guitar now in Ace's spot, said to me, he was working for the band. He said, hey, Gene wants to take you out to lunch. So we go and we have lunch, and then they're rehearsing for the Psycho Circus tour at a place called Cole's, which is a rehearsal space. And so he goes, dude, you want to come to rehearsal? So I go to rehearsal. Peter, Chris, and Ace Frehley are waiting in the parking lot. They're like, hey, man, where you been? He goes, I was taking Matt out to lunch. And then literally they were in the small room because they spend all their money on their show, obviously. And this band Citizen were across the hall, but they weren't there that day, who became Audio Slave, of course. They were rehearsing at that period of time. And I remember we were waiting for Paul to show up. So the guy shows up with the KISS boots, right? And it's the Love Gun boots. They're using them again. And Gene makes me get in them. And I'm a short dude, so I'm like almost broke my ankle getting in them. And he goes, imagine walking around those 2.5 hours a night. And then so I'm walking around, and I'm looking at this music stand. It's in a room about 3 times the size of the room we're in right now. And it's just like everybody's kind of hanging out, and Paul's still not there. And I look at the music stand and say, oh, all the classics. He goes, you like the list? I'm like, yeah. I go, I used to sing all these songs in my band when I was like 15. And he goes, you want to have a go? So I pick up the mic, and I mentioned Coming Home by KISS. And he goes, yeah, you want to do that? And then Ace goes, I don't remember it. And then Gene whispers in my ear, I remember it, and he wrote it with Paul. And it was like one of those things. It was just kind of funny because Ace hadn't played it. It was never part of their live show, except for at that Unplugged. And he goes, well, what do you want to do? And I'm like, how about Rock Bottom? So I sing Rock Bottom with those guys. And after they finish the song, Gene Simmons looks at me and goes, dude, you don't sing like you talk at all. You have a great voice, and you have control. You want to do another one? And Peter Criss yells out, do you love me? So that was surreal because, it's just the singing and the drummer. So it's Peter Criss's drums. And here I am, I'm singing the whole first verse. You really like my limousine. You like the way the wheels roll. And it's like all of a sudden I'm teleported to being 12 years old again in front of my Destroyer album. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I do that with them, and they're like, man, you're great. What else do you want to do? And I said, how about 100,000 years? And so then we ripped into that, and it was a fun time. And the funniest part of doing that song was I had the early studio albums, right? So by the time Kiss Alive came out, loved the album, but I was so used to being that kid that knew the album version that was shorter. Once I get to this drum solo, right, with Peter Criss, Gene looks over at me and goes, do you feel all right? And I look at him and go, studio version.
Yeah.
And seriously, and then back.
He knows.
And he goes back into the song, and Ace, after that, Tommy Thayer goes like this. He goes, yeah, so I do the 3. They go into deuce, and then Ace stops and goes, you should come hang out with us more often. You lit a fire under our ass. And it was one of the greatest experiences ever to get to sing with KISS.
Did Paul Stanley show up?
Not while I was there. I stayed another 45 minutes to an hour, and then I went back to my hotel. My girlfriend at the time, who became my second ex-wife, she said, why are you so worked up? I'm like, believe me, I'm not on any drugs. That's the natural buzz I got from singing with KISS, who I loved as a child, always since growing up. Yeah. And, since you love Metallica, too, one of my other favorite moments, which is on YouTube with Metallica from that show, Matt Rock, which was basically Headbangers Ball with a different name, is me and them on the tour bus. And Kirk, we're just hanging out, going from, New York to Philly. And Kirk busts in the Cowboy Song by Thin Lizzy. Yeah. And all of a sudden, Me and James switch off vocals on it,
Shut up.
singing it. So it's on YouTube. You can look at it. There's a clip of it from the actual
You bastard.
MTV show. So those are like,
I don't even like you.
Let me ask you something.
yeah.
We've interacted with
Son of a bitch.
Jason, those are dreams come true. When you're a
those
kid, right?
those are yeah.
We've
But-
interacted with Gene on air, and our experience with him was not all that different from the general public perception of him. Prickly, difficult,
He was a little loose.
a little loose.
He made a joke at the start about we both had fake hair, which I thought was pretty ballsy.
Yeah.
And the book that he was promoting, which was like his Lao Tzu Principles of Power thing, was actually very humble and talking about where he came from as an immigrant and stuff like that. But he can be a little difficult to deal with in public. Do you feel like you've dealt with a different person? Do you feel like you've seen the softer, gentler side of him? Does he have one?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do. I mean, I understand that situation because when they were talking about getting paid for the voiceover, and the first thing he offered me, I said, Gene, I really want to be a part of Kiss's history, but not that bad. How can you give me
You ready to say that?
Yes.
And then what did he
He said,
say? Okay.
listen, I understand. He goes, I understand. He was really cool, and
Yeah.
he just came up to what was reasonable.
Okay.
For
See, I
doing-
can't do
It's a
bargaining
balls.
with Gene Simmons. Like it's like James Hetfield. Like, hey man, I want you to narrate this thing, and then he offered me money, and I'm like, that's not very much. I'm not telling James Hetfield it's not very much. I'm just like, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Good for you.
I know. I mean, it's pretty odd that it came out of my mouth. But then other things that come out of my mouth, too, with musicians that are... Yeah, I remember when I first met Paul McCartney. Now, I'd already interviewed
Yeah.
tons of stars, right?
Yeah.
But the first...
But that's different.
So the first time
You know who Paul McCartney is, right, Miles?
Beatles.
There you go.
So the first time I met McCartney, they were doing this. He had rented out all of Roseland in New York, right? And it was for Buddy Holly's birthday. It was like, I don't know how old he would have been if he had lived. But I met Buddy Holly's widow there, Maria Lynn, and that was cool.
She remarried?
I don't know. But she was still beautiful as an older woman, and she was very, very nice. And obviously, Buddy Holly loved her.
Plane crash, right?
Yeah, that plane crash. It was terrible. But so anyway, there's a guy there named Bill Flanagan. He's written books on U2. He was the editor of Musician Magazine. Really well-respected music guy and journalist. He's on Breakfast with the Beatles, I think. Not Breakfast with the Beatles. He's on the Beatles channel or something. But he goes, hey, have you gone up to meet Paul? I'm like, no, I don't know, man. Because I saw Paul walk by this guy who then I realized the guy was like uncomfortable, didn't know what to say. So Paul was just like, I'll avoid this. Because he's got that radar where he's going to get it. Why avoid this really uncomfortable moment for this person who doesn't know how to react or talk when they see me? And so I eventually go up to Paul. And he's like, go talk to Paul. He knows who you are. Because at first I'm like, I don't know, man. I saw him shine some guy, walk right by.
Yeah.
And so I go up to Paul, and I start talking to him about doing some stuff with Elvis Costello. And I remember that I just started talking to him for a minute. And then I had the boss say, Paul, I always thought that those journalists who gave you so much crap, I said, F those guys. I go, any guy who can write a song as metal as Helter Skelter and as beautiful as Here, There, and Everywhere yesterday,
Dang.
Nobody's got anything on you.
You played the flute on that guy.
Can you imagine? But isn't that interesting?
Pretty smooth.
Yeah, but I didn't think I actually had the balls to say you took a lot of crap from those journalists because he went through a lot of years where the journalists were always after him about Wings, and so to say that, I didn't know how he'd react. Right?
But he appreciated it. Right?
He really appreciated it. And then, years later, I did album specials with him. And it was cool because in New York, I did an album special with him about 2013. And at the end of it, and I have this still on the rough CD of the thing where he goes, hey, man, if it wasn't my wedding anniversary to Nancy, we'd go have some beers and continue to talk about rock at the pub.
Wait, he drinks?
Yeah. And I was drinking still then.
Maybe he drinks?
Paul?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Good
for
Isn't
him.
that weird that I thought, because he's
Doesn't
a
eat
vegan
meat.
that...
He's a vegetarian.
He's a vegan.
He's vegan. He's
So
total vegan.
I just assume vegans don't drink. Isn't that
That's
weird?
tough. You got to eat a lot of carbs if you're going to drink and be a vegan.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to get some nasty hangovers.
Yeah,
Some
so-
embarrassing moments.
That's what he said. He said we go to a pub and have a beer. So, but that was pretty. Those are some of those moments. And I got to interview all the Stones, which was cool for the album A Bigger Bang, 2005.
you should laugh, Miles.
And that was great because it was all the Stones. So except Bill Wyman had left the band, but it was the first time they'd done an interview as an entire group since about 1977, 76. Right
Do
around
they
the
hate
time.
each other?
No, that day they were having a great day. You know what it was? I'll tell you what it was. Charlie Watts had just gotten out of the hospital for, he had that throat cancer issue at that period of time. And so I think they started to think about their mortality. And because up until that time, people think this whole thing during the pandemic where you're doing albums from different places, the Stones were the originators of that. When they realized that they could tape stuff, leave it for a while, like half of Tattoo You, like Waiting on a Friend, was a song that came out, around 81.
Start Me Up.
Start Me Up. They were old riffs.
They demoed like 5 years before that.
Right.
That's right.
And it was crazy because even Waiting on a Friend was from 72, like when they did Angie and stuff like that. So it'd been sitting around.
Yeah.
So that's how they made every album in the 1980s. It was like,
yeah.
you know.
You did that at Premiere, AJ.
Yeah, you remember that?
I was right down the hall from you.
Were you there
when they
that
came
day?
in. We were just like peeking at those guys going past, but sure.
Yeah, it was great. You were there that day, and it was amazing for me because they told me that they loved the interview, and they all came in. First, Ronnie Wood came in. He had just gotten out of rehab, so he was drinking tea, and then you had Keith. He was the only one drinking, and he had Grey Goose vodka and Fanta orange soda. And I was like, dude, where's the Jack and Coke? He goes, no. He goes, this is the poor man's orange juice or a screwdriver. And Mick, the rest were drinking tea, like Mick Jagger drinking tea. I know he drinks wine, but he wasn't drinking wine that day. And Charlie drinking tea, obviously, because we had just dealt with throat cancer. But they were awesome.
Yeah.
You know what's cool about it, too, Jason? The thing that was great, and you'll appreciate this, Michael, is during the McCartney one, like I taped it, and then we inserted the music later on for the album special, right? But for this thing, you remember it was Premiere. It was live.
Yes.
So it was like an hour and a half, 2 hours of me sitting in that room with them, which meant I had all that time to sit with them while the songs were playing. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't awkward at all. In fact.
And it can be. And you've been there where it is awkward.
Well, I've been there where, like, as long as the people are in a good mood and they're talking. So these guys, they were ready to talk about anything. They were ready to talk about the B-side of Jumpin' Jack Flash, Child of the Moon. I asked Jagger something about it. He goes, I don't remember. And then it would start a conversation between all of them. And they were amazing. So, people ask you about, don't meet your heroes sometimes, but those guys Stones were great. McCartney was great. Townsend, all those dudes. And the Metallica guys and the Kiss guys. I never had a problem with Gene,
Yeah, me neither. I thought he was cool.
What do you judge the relationship between Gene and Paul to be like? I always figured like they're close, they're bonded like family, but they don't. It was interesting to me. You say you actually went out to a meal with them together. I wouldn't imagine them socializing a whole bunch outside of what they have to do.
Yeah, I think it was one of those things. They were managed by Lieber and Krebs, this company, for a minute. Who used to manage Aerosmith in the 70s, like around the time Toys in the Attic, Rocks, and all that, those records. And it was before Doc McGee, the legendary guy who, they've been with ever since. And they were, I think there's a brotherhood with those guys. It's probably in a lot of ways like Mick and Keith and people like that, where they get mad at each other sometimes and have some riffs, but they keep it pretty much to themselves, although some of the ones that Mick and Keith have had, people know about,
Yeah, because they were in books.
Yeah, exactly. But I still think those guys really like each other. I just know they have their own lives outside.
Of course, which is almost has to happen if you're going to continue to be in a band with somebody for 60 years.
But speaking of Paul Stanley, like, he's such a nice dude. Like, one day I ran into him at the Sunset Marquee. I was going there to have dinner with some people, and Green Day were in the other room, and they were all there. So somebody said, "Hey, Matt, Green Day's in. You should go say hi to him." I went and saw those guys. It's got to be about a year ago because I was just about 2 years sober then. I'm just like 3 years and 2 months now.
Wait, you've only been sober for 3 years?
Yeah.
So you struggling this whole time? Or was it not a struggle?
Oh, it was a struggle.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You never seem like somebody that, like, did you make mistakes? Like, you didn't jeopardize your career in any way?
Well, yeah. I mean,
in the past?
Well,
you look like you always held your.
Well,
you look like a guy you could count on.
I never really went on the air totally messed up. But there were times that I called in sick or didn't show for certain things, and I'm not proud of that. But I think everybody knew that it was certainly my disease and not me. So, obviously it didn't. I'm still working, and thank God, and I'm still doing different things. Because
what made you decide to do it?
It was time. I'd come in and out of the program for a very long time.
Okay.
Kept trying, you know what I mean?
Yep.
I was trying.
Yes, I do, Matt.
Yeah. So Jason, dude, I was, I was going through it like, I'd get 3 months here, 4 months here, 5 months here, 6, 7 the most, with every good intention and doing the program and recovery and meeting and just like, but then something would like either emotionally or a life event would would really upset me or.
Yeah, the addiction gets a loud voice when the shit hits the fan.
Exactly. So that's what was happening with me, man. And but this last time it was it. It was it for me because like I'll tell you what, I was just tired of it, and I'd already gone through the thing where I was hit by the car. Well, and I don't know if you guys know the craziness about that, but in 2018, at the end of the year, I'm crossing the street in Hollywood. Woman's coming up and doesn't, she's like texting her on the phone.
Yeah.
And I get to like the third lane and I go like this and I literally like it was unusually quiet that night on the highway on Franklin Avenue. And I turn and I just see this car gunning at me from the corner of my eye coming like this. And the only thing I could think to do was jump in the air.
Oh, so then the hood caught you. And
the actual, the thing snapped my leg in half.
Oh, wow.
So there's a metal rod in here now.
Yeah.
Then I went through the windshield with my head, and
Sick.
It happened so quickly that I had no idea it even happened because all I remember is jumping up and then flying over the hood of the car.
Yeah.
And so my senses were heightened. I never passed out. I was getting some kind of adrenaline shock, and I could smell the heat of the engine or the oil or something like that's how peaked my senses were. I landed on the side of the road. Thank God I wasn't in the center of the road. Eventually, people were coming over trying to help me. Good thing I didn't see my head all split open either. I mean, it was one of those crazy things, but I'm grateful. And
how much of your head split open?
It wasn't here. I didn't. Here's the really wild thing. I have a joke that I have you can hardly see it, but an aneurysm operation when I was 15, and then this side is where the head was split open. So now I have a perfect ring around both sides. It's not really perfect.
It's a good thing you usually wear headphones for work.
Yeah, exactly.
How's your brains now?
You know what?
Are you dumber or anything?
No, I'm so.
That worked out.
You know what people used to say to me, Jason? They're like, "How do you still remember that much about music after all the drugs and alcohol that you did?"
That's fair.
And it's a really fair question
because
we've seen how it's really done its damage to some people where they're just half the person they were. So I'm very grateful.
How messed up were you once that was all said and done? Like you wake up in hospital?
Yeah, well, here's what I laid on the side of the street bleeding out. I tried to lift my...
Bleeding out? Well, from your head?
From my head. From my head all over. And my leg. And so the next thing you know is I end up... they put me on a tarp because they were worried about internal injuries.
Yeah.
Put me in an EMS truck, cut all my bloody clothes off, stuck a needle in my arm with morphine.
Hell yeah.
And then, and then they go... Mr. Pinfield, can you feel your toes? And I said, yes. And they go, you are an absolute miracle. They go, most people that take your hit are paralyzed or are dead.
Yeah.
So, and then he brought me to the hospital, and you'll appreciate this, guys. When my face is taped up, my head's all full of glass, like everything else, and I'm like half there. I'd gone through all these machines to see my brain was swelling and all that stuff, and then I hear two doctors, and one goes, hey, are you going to use staples? And the other guy goes, no, I watch this guy on TV. He loves rock, just like I do. So the guy who actually sewed up my head was a huge rock and metal fan.
And why did he give you bigger scars then?
It's actually
way more metal.
Look at this. Then you thought it would have been more metal, but no. Here it is. He did a great job from like here to here.
Have you always had barely any eyebrows? Like, did a tire explode on your face?
No, my father shaved them off accidentally when he was giving me a haircut.
Accident? How close was your hairline to your eyebrows? How do you miss? What do you mean he gave you a haircut and hit your eyebrows?
It was the 70s.
And they didn't grow back?
They didn't grow back. It's so weird. I have no idea why.
I used to shave mine all the time. People couldn't even tell.
Yeah.
I kind of have the same thing as you.
Yeah, so I just kind of go with it. But, so anyway, I was in the hospital for...
You look fast, Matt Pinfield.
I'm all right.
Yeah.
I got back.
If you told me you race cars for a living, I'd be like, fair enough.
Well, you've raced cars, so you've done it all.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go
and
for
the
it.
MMA stuff is cool too, man. You know,
Yeah.
that you've done and all the
That was fun.
fighting and boxing stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
What I always want to say, what did you use for what music? Was Metallica always one of your main motivational musics when you were kind of training and stuff? What were you listening to?
Yeah, I mean, thanks to Metallica, it opened me up to all music because at first I don't think I appreciate anything that much, like the actual musicianship. You know, I mean, Metallica made me realize that there's levels to music and that these guys are trying to be advanced and trying to be faster and more technical and like the best of the best of playing guitar or playing drums. So I thought, which made me look into other bands. All of a sudden, I think there was definitely a big era where all of a sudden I was like, wait, Black Sabbath was before them, Led Zeppelin, Jimmy Hendrix did a cover of
Along the Watchtower?
what's the old poet guy?
Robert Johnson?
No,
Bob Dylan.
Bob Dylan,
Yeah.
which made me like Metallica made me like music that I never thought I would like.
Right.
Because all of a sudden I became a Bob Dylan fan because Bob Dylan wrote a song, Jimmy Hendrix, it's all connected, and then I'm like, wow, I love all these guys. So then when I got into like stuff that would drive me, it was Metallica, and then Pantera, Vulgar Display of Power came out. That's why I have Determination tattooed on my back.
That's great.
All those kind of positive, you know, because Pantera were a lot more positive before, in my opinion, before Phil got into drugs. There was an album where it was just like, you cannot beat me because I will never back down. And then there was
with New Level and Mouth for War and all that
and
stuff
then
on
the
there.
Far Beyond Driven got dark. You know,
Yeah.
but the music was still heavy, so it motivated me. So I was like that. Then for the last fights, because I'm old, I didn't get into fighting until I was older. Machine Head, the Blackening album, I used to listen to that and run on the beach because you got to do sprints, you got to do the pain, you got to do the hard work if you want to win a fight because you get tired in the first minute.
Yeah.
People don't realize. Like, you think if you knock him out in the first minute, then great, you didn't even feel it. But most fights involve pain in your lungs and your arms and your legs don't want to work anymore. And you're like, if you don't get them to fire off, he's going to knock you out.
Yeah.
So there's this cardio burn that is just unlike any other burn. You can't, unless you're like some crazy psycho who's just calm when people are trying to kick your head off, you get anxious. You push too hard. So you blow your lungs out in the first minute. And then if you didn't do all those sprints for the last 6 weeks, you're going to die.
Yeah.
So I would do a lot of those to that
And listen to
music.
Machine Head, and right? Yeah, right. That's-
Because there was then first of all, 9-minute songs made it easier too, but it was just, you know, I can get wound up in my own head. I think that's one of the things that's always helped me when it comes to achieving things. I can build a lot of tension in my own body and give myself my own energy.
Yeah.
And things like those kind of bands definitely, like, to the point where there were certain days where I was like, if I don't feel that fit, I'm not going to play Machine Head because I know I'll blow my legs out.
Yeah.
Because I can't stop. Like, once it gets me going,
Yeah.
I'm like, you know, 'cause
Just
there's
put
so many-
your head in that
all the
place,
childhood anger and stuff. I feel like that. You know what I mean? Like, all of a sudden, because I'm very angry, but I'm not directing it. I can't tell you who I'm angry at, but I'm definitely, you know what I mean? Like, I can sprint, or if you hit him, I can, you know what I mean? I don't care. I'm going to rip you apart.
Yeah.
It's that music that gets me there.
Yeah.
To the point where, I got to slow down. And now that I'm older, I listen to even older music. Like, the older I get, the more I listen to stuff that's way past my like Marvin Gaye and stuff like that. I now listen to a lot of salsa music.
I love old
listen to
soul
weird
music
stuff.
too, man. I'm a huge fan of like all that old soul.
That's my favorite stuff now because that puts me in a mood that I'm trying to be in now. Like, I don't want to win. I don't need to get anybody back. I don't want to, like, I'm not looking for redemption or payback. There was a lot of that in my blood. And now there's, like, soul music is like, yeah, man, happy, you know, like, loving each other, or, you know, getting through hard times. That music resonates with me way more than, you know, we're going to get a math medal. That doesn't mean that I still don't rock. You know what I mean? I trained this morning to Faith No More. I still rock.
Yeah, those guys, Faith No More guys, I love that stuff.
Right?
Too. I know you. That's great that you still rock.
I learned from a girl that I met in Australia a long time ago when Faith No More was still in their prime, but the singer hooked up with her and did this really weird thing to her, and she told me.
Was it the original singer Chuck?
No,
Mike Patton.
Mike Patton.
Yeah,
okay,
Patton.
Yeah.
So he took her to his hotel room and he said, sit on the bed, and then he stood like 6 feet away, and he's like, I'm going to jerk off in front of you. And she was like, okay. And then he pulled it out, he jerked off, he jizzed on the floor, and he's like, okay, thanks.
Yeah.
And she left, and when she told me, I was like, wait, you stayed. She's like, yeah, I don't know what else I was supposed to do. And I'm like, whoa, that is so weird. Like, I was like, man, that guy's super advanced. Because I was like, that's levels ahead, like when you're doing stuff like that. So he inspired me to ask people if they wanted to see that every now and then.
He was a very influential man.
Yeah, he helped me a lot. Thanks, man. That was cool. This was a couple of Tony Hawk tours where I did that, and it was so creepy, but it was cool, though. Oh, and just for the record, because I know I'm a comedian now, I got permission. I didn't corner anybody. They were like, yeah, we want to see it. I was like, okay, here we go.
Yeah, so you've been doing stand-up quite a bit lately. I gotta
really trying, like the last couple of years, really trying.
Well, I should come out and see you. I want to come out and see you do it.
I'm doing one with Whitney Cummings next week. That's very, very exciting to me because she's like a big inspiration.
What day is that?
Sunday.
A week from Sunday or this Sunday?
Is it this Sunday?
Yeah, this Sunday and then Tuesday at the store.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm getting up at the store a lot. I know people at the store. People know me there. To me, it's like same thing as skateboarding and fighting, where I'm in it, but I'm a rookie, and everybody knows everything, and I don't know anything, and I'm just a sponge, and I just go there, and I'm like, hey, man, is it cool if I hang out? And they go, yeah, man, totally. And I go, I love this. I feel like I'm at home. I just want to learn more. Please teach me. How do you do it? How do you say it? Where do you go? What do you do after it? Like, I'm just... I can't stop thinking about it all the time. So I'm very fortunate because I don't know what I would do if I don't have something that I'm obsessed with. I'm going to get weird. Like being a junkie and stuff.
Yeah.
I could definitely turn to something else.
Drugs and alcohol, man. That was my... I was...
How's your body with drugs and alcohol? Because I found like if I kept drinking, I was going to die.
Well, that was me too. I mean, the truth
you feel
is...
sick?
And I was so bloated for a while, and then I wasn't...
You lost weight, huh?
I lost a lot of weight. Yeah.
Did you work out or something? Or you just not
I worked
drinking?
out. I worked out.
Okay.
No, I worked out.
Are you
I had to replace that, like that, all that nervous energy with something.
Yeah. Are you a regular workout guy still?
I am when I'm not on the road. In fact, I was very regular because I love doing it. I mean, actually,
what is your workout? Like, what do you like to do?
I do a bunch of different things. Some with free weights, some with machines. A little bit of everything, and then
you're a gym guy.
Yeah, I'm a gym guy, and then I hike with some sober dudes. I always hike up Griffith Park. So
you don't go with Toby Morris, do you?
No, but I know Toby.
I've
known Toby for a long time, and Tim and everybody.
Yeah, I talked to Tim on the phone one time, but I don't really know Tim. But
yeah, but Toby's
one of the greatest people I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, I love Toby. Always have known him for a long time.
I hate hikes, but I'll go with him.
Yeah, I remember playing.
I'll go with you too, Matt Pinfield.
We should
damn it,
Jason. We should.
I'll do it.
It's great, Griffith Park. It's not like you can find this path that we take that's off the beaten path on a side road. So it's not where all the other stuff is going on.
Yeah.
And we go up and past the teleport where all the TV commercials are shot with the cars on the edge for,
Yeah.
And then up over, Griffith Observatory, we go up a bit and then come back down. It usually takes us about 3 hours. We go a couple miles up, a couple miles down. Yeah. But it's great, man. And we should do it.
All right, I'll do it.
And I'm serious.
That's why I said it.
Yeah. I know you're not fully.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not. I got to watch the words here, right? So
Well done,
am I
Matt.
doing good?
So far,
I'm
so
doing
good.
very well because sometimes it just comes out of my mouth, which is odd.
Are you on terrestrial radio?
I've been on the radio for 40 years on terrestrial radio.
Did you ever slip?
Oh yes, in San Francisco on a morning show that I hosted.
Oh no.
Once in New York City on a morning show that I hosted. And those are the only 2 times. But that's in 40 years. That's pretty good.
F-bombs in the morning with Matt Pinfield.
Yeah, well, can I say
that's
especially since I use them pretty regularly.
I gather as much.
Outside of it, but for some reason, when I turn on the microphone, I can be very good at with that. But I mean, who knows what the night before was like at that point. But you asked me back in sober. I've been sober 3 years and 2 months, and a lot of my friends and people got behind me, and man, I love right now. I feel great about that because. I like being present.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
It's just and everything's. I mean, now when I work, it's everybody knows that I'm going to be there in 100%.
I
You
feel
know what
like
I mean?
when you're older, it's I don't know how much time. It's so much more valuable to me now. Like I don't know how much longer I'm going to be here. I don't know how much longer my friends are going to be here. I want, like you said, I want to be present.
Yeah.
I don't regret it because I can't. But all the times where I just floated through things half there, and when people bring up old stories, remember when and I'm like, nah, and I'm like, man, how many of those do you not have? And some of those were gems. You should have remembered that.
That's how I feel. I mean, there was not only things that I missed, but things that I if I had been in the moment,
Yes.
I would have really appreciated them instead of worrying about other things.
Do you think that's an addictive mind, not being in the moment? Because
Yes.
that one is very difficult. For
yeah,
me.
future tripping, you know, that whole thing. It's
or
like
past tripping, whichever
yeah,
one. you
past
wanna
tripping.
pick.
It could be both, you
Yeah.
know. But of course, you know what they say. You know, it's like, well, yeah, you know. the
That's why I
past-
like boobs.
Yeah,
Boobs make me realize where I am.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
absolutely.
Like as soon as you pull them out, I'm like, I'm here.
there you go.
you know?
You're like, I see those boobs.
And then as soon as you take them away,
You know,
back in the past
there.
again, like, man, those titties were cool. You know
Yes.
what I mean? I wish I could
Did
have
my
them
girlfriend
again.
really not sleep with Mike Patton? All of a sudden, you're like,
That's past
I was
tripping.
such
hold on a second.
There's
That's
some past
that's
tripping there,
ludicrous.
Jason.
I was such a loser. I thought it was cool.
I get it.
I was like, man,
Yeah.
I'm a badass. Like Mike Patton likes her, and she likes me. Like that's pretty cool.
yeah, do the math.
that's
Yes,
cool.
I did. And it turned out I was great.
You know, so you know, it's just been cool. You know, we just wrapped this season of his TV show that I've had on Access TV called The Power Hour. that
Yeah,
I do
man.
With Josh Bernstein, who put like the Golden Gods together, those awards that were with Loud.
Yeah, I did that once. I got an award. They said I was going to win. Remember, I got all mad about it.
Athlete of the metal athlete of the
Yeah,
year.
and I was going to win it, and I was there, and Benji and Joel Madden came with me, and it was all done. And then all of a sudden, in backstage, I got told that some football
It's like a
team,
Miami Dolphin.
yeah, some football team showed up, so they were going to give it to them instead, and I was so bummed out about it. 'cause
I'd be bummed
I
too,
thought I was
especially if
gonna
they
get an
told you
award.
you were going to get it. I'd be
Yeah.
like, what the?
And I think I was on the cover. There was one of those covers where it was the fold-out one.
Yeah.
And it had like Ozzy and all these people in it, and then like if you folded it out enough, there's my stupid face in the photo. So the award would have been cool, but I was like, I'm on the cover of a magazine with Ozzy Osbourne.
I'd say that's
I
pretty
win.
cool.
Yeah.
I mean, regardless, that's great. Actually, I think it's an awesome thing to say. You know, to have.
He's a
Remember,
I every time I interviewed him, I was very excited.
he's one of the.
A lot of pressure because all I really wanted. This is the hardest thing about interviewing people like that.
Yeah.
I don't want him to not like me.
Yeah.
I want him to like me. So if it's like at the very, I made a joke about Satan. He was like, "Fuck off." Sorry. you
Yeah.
two.
Well,
But
yeah.
I took it. He was joking.
Yeah.
But just because he cussed, I was like, "Are we good?" And then I realized it was okay.
He's just playing.
Yeah. But
very
for a second,
It was a very British kind of
yeah,
fu.
it was.
You know?
It was one that I should have not picked up on. We
Yeah.
do that all the time.
Yeah.
But it made me realize how paranoid I was of making sure that this worked out.
Well,
And-
especially if it's an idol of yours. It's not always, like that's the thing more than anything. You like this has got you want it to go great. You know?
I went to a concert a year or at least a year, I thought, not very recent after that. And I was with Benji Madden and we were backstage and there he was, Ozzy talking to, who was it? It was somebody else that was a metal god. And I'm like, oh wow, check them out. They're over there. And then Ozzy goes, hey! And I'm like, me? And he's like, hey, how are you? And I'm like, how am I? I'm awesome.
Especially because you just recognized me. I love that.
And the best part was it's Benji Madden brought me there, who everybody knows him.
Yeah.
And Ozzy just walked straight past Benji. It was like, Jason. And I was like, yeah, like
Yeah.
in your face, Madden.
That's great.
That was a highlight.
He's such a good,
Right?
He's
He's
been
the
nothing but a joy to deal with all these years, doing many interviews with him. And I just did a thing for Sharon. She called me
How's
up.
she? I feel like she would hate me.
No, I don't think so. I think
Did she ever get mad at you ever?
never. No,
You
and
never pissed her off.
No, I've never pissed her
Have
off,
you ever
which is
seen anybody
amazing.
piss her off? Because she seems like she
I've seen people piss her off, and she doesn't take any.
right?
Have you ever asked her for money?
No, she's paid. They paid me.
Okay.
For things I've done for them.
Was it?
Yeah.
You didn't have to barter. You were like, "That's a fair deal."
No barter at all. It
was a good money.
cool.
It was good
yeah,
money.
they've taken care of me. I mean, look, when I've done some work for them before, and also, recently I was in Sharon's documentary about when actually they tried to cancel her. She wanted me to be the rock voice that was
Dang.
the one talking about.
Oh, you're
her,
tight
Ozzy.
with her.
Yeah, we're good. We're good friends. Over
Yeah.
the years. You know what she would do? It was funny.
Is
her-
Ozzy okay?
Yeah, he's gonna be all right.
Do you feel like sometimes they should leave him alone?
I got to tell you, I think he's doing a lot better with the Parkinson's than my brother has Parkinson's, so I've seen how advanced it is.
Yeah.
And I've been that's my brother, that's my older brother, my big brother who I love, and been there with me since I was a kid, and he's my older brother's 10 years older than me, but he's always great at turning me on to great rock when I was a kid, and all that thing, having somebody, so seeing somebody go through a disease like Parkinson's or Alzheimer's, it's a rough thing when it's somebody you love,
Yeah.
So But I mean, Ozzy recently, all my dealings with him, he's, you know, and when I've seen him, and he's been doing really well, and he's still really, you know, aware of everything that's going on.
That's awesome. Yep.
And
Good.
I love the Osbournes. I mean, they've been nothing but, like I said,
Jack's a sweetheart.
Jack is the best. The
One of the
whole
coolest people ever.
family has
Yep.
been so cool to me. Yeah, like I said, Sharon and I used to meet. Sometimes Ozzy would be up, like they'd come and stay at the St. Regis in New York, and because we were friends, you know, Ozzy would like be hanging out watching TV upstairs. She's like, man, let's get some food, have a couple drinks, and like we would just tell rock stories, and just, you know, she would tell me the coolest stuff. But she's funny because everybody knows Sharon doesn't take any, you know what, right? Because you can't say the S word here. And man, like when anybody act like prima donnas, like backstage on some of those Ozfest shows, man, she would put them in their place.
Yeah. Well, when you
can
somebody
only
has
imagine.
to do it, and when I think about in that scenario, who is the one that would do that? It's her.
Yeah.
Because you can't talk back.
No, yeah.
That's the King of Darkness
That's
wife.
right. Pipe down, corn.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, she's
That didn't happen. She didn't pipe down like chord level, right?
no, she's you know, it's funny. It wasn't them. It was some other band.
Oh,
who were
please
acting-
tell me.
I don't remember who it was because they weren't even a band that were like in like the upper echelon of the,
Meshuggah.
of the
God,
thing.
yeah.
It wasn't Meshuggah either. It was, but because I love
Default,
them. But it
one
was
of those,
somebody who was
yeah.
like, and they were like acting like prima donnas at catering, and she was like, yeah, no, she just like let them have it, like because everybody else was being cool.
Yeah.
You know, like it was the whole thing. You know, it was like, it's interesting. You talked about Pantera, and I remember I was doing this interview with Phil backstage at Rockin' the Range because he hadn't done anything in a long time, and it was before Vinny passed, but after Dime passed, and he was there with Down, and you know, and when Rex, when I first used to come out to L.A. a lot, and Rex lived at Jerry Cantrell's house in Alice in Chains, we would hang a lot. You know,
Yeah. Wait, you hang out with Matt with Jerry
and Rex, yeah, all the time. Yeah, and it was
so
like, yeah.
sick. Those people
So-
made me nervous when I walk by.
Yeah, so they're, you know, but yeah, and but Phil, like, was eating at catering one night, and I go, "Hey, Phil, I'm doing this new thing," and it was a thing that was like a, you know, internet thing that lasted for a little while, but I go, "Phil, man, you think you could do an interview with me?" He goes, "Yeah, man, as soon as I'm done eating." That's how cool he was. Like, you know, we had no speed bumps. That's a joke. We always call them speed bumps, you know, when they get in the way of your interview, like going through too many people. And I don't
okay.
go around managers or like, I'm respectful to everybody at label. But sometimes you get those speed bumps who are like, don't even realize, you know, the relationship you have or know enough about the artist and what they'd want to do. And they're ready to run block on something. And sometimes you got to do, you know, you got to find your way around that. But there was nobody there representing. He's just like, I'll do it. So we did this interview, which you can find also on YouTube, where like we're in the dark because it was Living Color's trailer and they had already played.
Yeah.
So they
Love
left.
Living Color,
Yeah,
man.
they're great, right?
You know Vernon Reed and all that?
Yeah, Vernon Reed, man, Corey Glover, those guys are great. And so
Sick. You have no idea, Miles, you moron.
so they left, and so Phil's like,
The name Muzz Skillings means nothing to him.
It doesn't mean anything to anyone listening either. I
Yeah,
just
but
I'm going
okay
way
with
down.
that.
But I know, you know, so that day Phil was in a really good mood, you know, and it was the first interview he had done after Dimebag had passed. But we sat there, and it was so funny because we're using flashlights for our site because
he
the
would've
power
loved that.
went out in there at Rock on the Range, which is now called Sonic Temple, in a different place. But and it was so funny. He looks at me and goes, "Man, you're the only guy with a voice that's more rasped out and messed up than my voice."
That's impossible. I don't know who's got it worse, him or Miley Cyrus. They're both pretty grungy at this point.
Yeah, Miley's crushing it though, isn't she? I mean, she's doing
She's amazing.
unbelievably well, and I've got a lot of respect for her because so many people I'm friends with are in her band.
Oh, yeah?
You know? Yeah, like.
Yeah, what do you think about this? I mean, it's hard to call it a Pantera reunion. The Pantera band that's out there on tour now, I don't feel great about it.
Well, I feel a little different because the only reason I think it's cool is because, you know, Zach and Charlie are guys that, you know, I mean, Zach paid tribute to those guys every night on his show because of his relationship with Dimebag. Anyway, so I thought if somebody was going to do it, Zach was the right person to do it.
Yeah.
Charlie being an Anthrax, a band that obviously those guys had a history.
Yeah, right.
I thought was cool too. I love Rex and Phil, obviously.
I just mean Phil coming back from, you know, the controversy and throwing up whatever signs he might have ever thrown up on stage. Like, do you get out of cancel jail for that and go out on tour with Metallica, or should is it cool for Metallica to be cool with them? Basically, is it cool for us to be cool with them?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, you're cool with them.
Yeah.
You like black people, right?
yeah, I like all people.
Right.
I like all people. I just don't like assholes, and there's assholes everywhere. I just love people who are cool people and are kind people.
Yes.
We've all been through a lot, and like you said, Jason, as we get older, you just want to be around people that you really like to be around, and people that are kind and cool, and have but yeah, I mean,
What was that all about? Do you have any inkling about
that whole thing with with
like,
Phil?
is there any truth to him saying that, or is that just like a drunk, stupid thing that he went to? Like, it's very hard to.
It's hard to tell, and I haven't gotten any personal feedback on
It's
it.
tough for me to digest. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
As a huge fan, it was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Because I'm a huge supporter, and I've followed you all this way, and wait, I'm not like that. And if you are, I'm out.
We're definitely not like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That was a bummer.
I think that it's for me. It's always been about live and let live, and accept people and love people for who they are.
Right.
For like the kind of person that they are. That's the most important thing.
I wanted to ask you one more thing, Matt. I feel like I've heard people talk about what Metallica are like and the Stones are like and stuff. I never really hear much about people who spent time with Kurt Cobain. Did you ever?
Well, I mean, the time I spent with Kurt is not as much time as I spent with Dave. Or with Chris recently, even recently, like I just had Chris.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, well, Chris is, this week coming up Sunday on Axis TV, my guests are Stone Gossard from Pearl Jam and Chris Novoselic from Nirvana.
Oh, wow, because I feel like he's kept a pretty low profile relative to the opportunities that were there for him.
Yeah, well, Chris is wild. I love him. He's such a great dude. And, he listens. He reached out to me because he listens to me. He streams my KLOS show on Sunday nights. I'm on 8 to 10 Pacific.
Yeah.
And it's like it's 10 new rock songs and then a bunch of album anniversaries and interviews and birthdays, rock birthdays. So it's a mix of old and new rock. But he listens every week. And I mean, he literally emailed me and go, hey, cool. Foos are number one this week. Like that kind of thing. And so I'd asked him to be on the show, and he streams it. He said, I'd rather listen to somebody like you who knows music and loves it, curated, than just some playlist. So that's what he said, and he still does. And Chris is a great guy. And Dave, did something very nice for me on my birthday, which was May 28th, right? So he went on stage at Sonic Temple in Columbus, Ohio. First, he surprised me backstage. They were giving me like a carrot cake for my birthday because my girlfriend told him I liked carrot cake to people at the festival. So, and then it was really cool. Dave went on stage, made sure we were at the side of the stage. I wasn't expecting it, and he went on and talked about me and my birthday, and he goes, that mother been through a lot. He's been through a lot. He goes, but this guy's been our friend for years, and he wished me happy birthday and dedicated My Hero to me, and then had the whole crowd sing. And he came over in the middle of the song, Dave, and he gave me a hug on stage.
Aww.
It was a beautiful thing,
It is a beautiful thing.
And so I'm friends with him and Chris. My dealings with Kurt were like always, we were always cool, but it wasn't like we spent any kind of real lot of time together. I was with Nirvana when they rehearsed for Saturday Night Live. It was only like me and my friend Cliff and the guy from the record company and the people that worked there and the band on stage. It was nobody else in that whole place.
I loved that performance because they did the hit, but then the other one was Territorial Pissing, which wasn't like a single or anything.
So I was
like
there
that.
for that whole thing with them and hanging out with them there, and they were joking around. But a lot of people don't realize that Kurt, yes, he was depressed, and I literally, guy drove me home from one of my recovery meetings the other night. Was saying to me, man, I was the guy who took Kurt to his last meeting at Exodus where he was staying like that the night, and the next day he hopped the fence, went back to Seattle, and he was dead the next day, which is just heartbreaking. But he was always kind to me. He was always cool, and he had a sense of humor whenever I saw him. He was never like, you know what I mean? And so the times that I was in, he also did this thing for MTV even before I was working there full time. They came in and did 5 songs. It's bootlegged out there. It's probably some of it's on YouTube where they do Polly, Territorial, Smells Like Teen Spirit, everything. And you can see me standing over the band with some hair before I got smart enough to shave this shit. Shave this stuff.
You had hair.
I had very little hair. It was going away.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You were hanging on to it though.
Yeah, I was trying to hang on. There was
What were
someone
you
that's
doing?
like,
Were you combing it over, or were you just?
no,
thin?
I never did. I always knew how
do
people
that.
looked at those guys.
Yeah.
So I never was that guy.
Smart.
It just started going back and back
Yeah.
and back, and then finally, this guy shows up at the DJ. I DJed at these alternative and rock clubs. You know, this place called the Melody, famous club in New Jersey, and dude shows up one night and goes, "Dude, have you ever thought about shaving your head?"
Yeah,
And I'm like,
that's a deal,
right? And
Yeah, that's
I
it.
go, no, but I think about it. He goes, I'll tell you what, play me 3 ska songs and I'll come here with my razor tomorrow. And I swear he did. Shaved my head in the basement of the club.
Changed
and
your
that
life.
changed my life.
Yep.
Changed
I
my
can't.
life.
I can't take you serious with hair.
Yeah, I mean, I can't take me seriously
Yeah,
with
me
hair.
too. I
It's
can't
hard.
take myself serious.
But there's a little bit
I-
of it in that Nirvana clips. But no, Kurt was very nice at the dealings we had. I'm very good friends with Dave, very good friends with Chris. You know what I mean?
I see.
But
you can get hair glued on now, right?
what's that?
You
Yeah,
can get hair glued on. It looks super real, and it lasts like if you don't work
I don't.
out.
Aren't you like me? I don't want hair. I mean, you've already.
Oh
Obviously,
no! If this show got successful, I would have hair.
you would.
Yeah, not real hair though.
No.
'Cause I want to be me again, but every now and then, this is my fantasy. The show picks up again, goes back to what it was.
Yeah.
I have money enough to have this because I know there's people where they come over.
Yeah.
And they get you a wig.
Yeah.
They style it. You grow the side of your hair, and then they blend it all in and glue it on there, and you look sick. And then when I get that sick haircut, I immediately rent a convertible, depending on my budget. But I don't care, like a convertible.
And you let the wind blow through your hair.
Yeah, and I just drive around like
I
all
think-
weekend like a champion.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's not forever. I told Dr. Drew Pensky that I wanted to have lunch with him, like on Rodeo Drive with my hair.
Yeah.
Just like looking like 2 gay doctors talking to each other.
Yeah.
You know?
Let me tell
So
you.
I gotta, I'm going to get there.
I
That's
gotta
my
say,
goal.
Dr. Drew and Bob Forrest were very helpful to me through my many years of struggles.
Me too.
They helped
He's a
me
great
out.
man.
Yeah, I love them both. I mean-
Still helping me.
Yeah.
I mean, I got on Kratom. You know what that is?
oh, you did that creative? Yeah, I do.
And then because I'm me, I got addicted to it and turned it into a thing where I was like, wow, you're an idiot. You're on stuff again.
Yeah.
And then I got off it, and it was embarrassingly difficult. I had to go away for 4 days. I got a Airbnb and seriously
Kick it.
white knuckled it was embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
it
I've
was-
seen it happen to other friends of mine recently.
It was so hard.
A record producer buddy of mine, and he's doing great now, though, man. He's been doing good for like the last 6 months. I like being in a position now where I'm helping other people, you know?
I feel like that helps us keep going, right?
It does. It really does, man. And, it's... I'm so grateful. But one of the
You should
things...
help me, Matt.
Hey, whatever I...
I'm
Jay-
in a position. I'm not in any position to help anybody.
No, Jason, I'm there for you anytime. Seriously. And it's funny
crap.
because, I look back on it. But I should have listened to Dr. Drew and Bob Forrest once before because
Yeah.
they had told me when I was in one relationship, you can't move in back with that woman. And I'm not going to mention a name or say anything bad about this person. They're a good person. They just weren't ready to ever stop drinking and using.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, no, I'll be all right. It's an inside job. And then I moved back in with that person. And eventually the resentments and all the other crap that comes along with it, and you know what I'm talking about,
Yep.
I was off to the races again. So it's just, I learned a lot. But it took me a lot of times to learn. And, we're always learning. My whole thing is I never, ever know everything. There's so much to learn about music, about life, about...
Are you single now?
No, I have a girlfriend for like almost the last year.
She's sober, right?
She's not sober, but she's not a drinker. She's
Have you hooked up with somebody since you've been sober that's drunk?
No.
Because I did that the other day for the first time.
Yeah.
That's off the table now.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well,
I figured if she's really hot, who cares? But it turns out, nah.
Yeah. Well, it's hard. It's really hard to do that. So for some people, they can do it, but for some, it's an immediate trigger to want to drink again. And I waited a couple years to start seeing somebody and dating someone again because, truthfully, I was working on myself in a big way.
But that's a smart thing to do. You
Yeah.
just jump in to another one.
Yeah, because there
your
were
odds
people
go
who were
down
like-
for sure.
And people are going to be, hey, the women I know, I'll sign you up for the Rayo website. I'll sign you up for this website. Why don't you go to there? I'm like, first of all, I'm a public figure. I already feel weird about it, but
I mean, I don't know how to use apps, but I would totally be on radio if I knew how to make it work.
Yeah. No, I don't blame you. I'm not saying anything against them. I'm just saying
I got kicked off Tinder for impersonating myself.
Yeah. I was afraid of the apps.
I was like, that is not fair.
I know it sounds, but I just because of my age, I guess, the apps freaked me out.
Yeah.
They'll swipe and left and right. I know it's worked for people. I know they met people that they are in love with. So I'm not saying anything negative about that. And however you find a good relationship, a healthy relationship. So I'm in one for almost a year now. So far, so good.
For you.
And the thing is, like I said, she drinks once in a while. She'll have like a glass of champagne, and she doesn't even finish it. You know what I mean? Like that's all she does.
That's different.
That's so different than us. I'm like, usually it would be like, you left half a bottle of wine? How could you just leave it there?
Yeah, it's impossible.
You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing, man. But I'm so grateful to be sober like now, and I'm grateful to hang out. I mean, look, here I am. I'm getting to hang out and get to know you, Jason.
Yeah.
We're going to get to see you again, Michael, after the old years of Premiere. You remember some of those guys? I'm trying to remember. Ira Robbins was there then, right?
I exchanged very nice emails with Ira yesterday for the first time pretty much since I worked at Premiere.
But do you remember Glenn Weissman, too?
By name.
Yeah, he was a guy I knew from Rutgers. But
and I saw Big Tigger.
Yeah.
Remember he had the hip-hop show
Yeah.
when we were out at the Deontay Wilder fight?
That's cool. And what about, who's the guy? His name is Sal.
Oh, he was the guy that used to play air drums really loud. He was an angry dude who covered classic rock.
Yeah, so it was like dudes at Premiere, and it was a studio, Jason, on top of Radio City Music Hall, and that's where the offices were.
Yeah,
and that's where I did the Stones thing
across the street from Sirius.
Yeah, and it was really funny because, man, I'll just never forget how we were all freaked out. Like, why is Keith Richards drinking Grey Goose and that Fanta orange soda crap?
It sounds really tasty.
Keeping it real.
And we loved them.
I gotta go. We gotta move on. If you want to hear more of the Jason Ellis Show with Matt Pinfield, we're gonna do some Patreon. So if you go to patreon.com/EllisMate, you can join and catch all the shows there. Matt, thanks for being on the podcast. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great hanging with you.
I think we're going to be hearing Miles's open letter of apology to Mick Jagger.
Right. Finally.
Let's hear it.
See you next week, everybody. Don't die.